This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. You are tuned in to the TCSF podcast with Big Z. In the house, we got JC, Dynasty Fantasy Football, coming straight from the 606 Media Studios and empowered by True Chicago sports fans. This is episode 242, and we're fired up to dive into what's going on in Chicago sports. This is all brought to you by 606 Media, your ultimate source for all things Chicago. Don't forget to swing by 606media.com and snag your official TCSF podcast t-shirt, hoodie, tank top, Razorback, football jersey. We got all types of stuff on the store. Go check it out and support the show. And we also have a different line. It's called the exclusive for the Love of Sports merchandise line. Go and check that line out. Show off your Chicago pride. Lots of cool stuff on there. Just keep checking in at 606media.com. You can check out all the podcasts on there. And, I try to incorporate more new stuff into the clothing line at least once a month. So let me know what you think. I know we just brought on Nike. So we have a whole line of Nike gear that you can definitely sport. So go over there and support us. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X, smash that subscribe button. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please leave us a 5-star review, and it means the world to us. So go ahead and drop some kind words. Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with everything. Everything has a subscription. Go ahead there and just support us. If you want to support us and get more involved, support with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans for a little 99 cents a month. So every little bit helps the conversation going, pays off the bills for the big guy over here because he's got groceries to buy for a whole family over there.
I'm broke.
Oh my goodness. Again, you can also subscribe to the rest of the 606 Media lineup and Podscape with Big Z, myself. We deep dive into fascinating life stories with engaging discussions, insightful interviews, and plenty of humor. I'll be dropping 2 episodes this week. I know I missed last week. Life got a little crazy. We're going to drop one with Dr. Gabriel Cortez and a comedian, Joz Sita. So look out for those 2 episodes to be dropped this week. So I know you're enjoying them because I know I did. Follow No Water on the Weekend with Steven and Sean, a pop culture podcast serving up funny trivia, film, music, and all of the latest Chicago-centric happenings. Go ahead and check them out. I know they've been going live. I was on the last episode with Steven, so I know I was there, and I know they recorded. But definitely check that out. I know you can find it on 606media.com or 606 Media YouTube page. And I'm pretty sure Sean is out of town right now in Vegas, so I'm not sure if the audio version is up yet, but we should have it up there on 606 Media on the YouTube channel. So strap in. Let's get ready for an unforgettable ride through the best of Chicago sports, culture, and beyond. Let's get started without further delay. Episode 242. This week we're going to get crazy with what up, Cricket Commish? We're going to get crazy with our Cubs. A big turnaround from last week when they were down and out. You know, the world was on fire. Cub fans were panicking. A lot has changed since then. We'll talk about the WhiteSox going back to their losing ways. We're going to talk about a huge contract in MLB and how it affects the Cubs. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls making their late playoff push. The Blackhawks just limping towards the finish line. And then Chicago Bears news. There's a lot of Chicago Bears news. So we'll get all into that. But
Well, it looks like Big Z lost his connection.
Sorry guys, I literally the mouse is super sensitive. I hit the back 2 fingers back and it just took me all the way back. Sorry about that, people. Let's start it off with our beloved Chicago Cubs. What's going on with the Cubs? Well, first of all, it was a huge contract that dropped they say midnight, but I knew about it since about 8:30, 10 o'clock. Our one of our friends and former guest that was on the show dropped the news. Why am I blanking right now? Why am I blanking right now? I'll get
Cody?
to, I'll give him a credit, when it comes back to me. But Vladimir Guerrero will be a Toronto Blue Jay for life, essentially. He agreed to a game's second largest contract. It's a 14-year deferral-free, $500 million contract extension. It's only smaller than Soto's in value in the AAV, I believe. He's going to be there till he's over 40. 500 million, 14 years, no money deferred. Essentially, that'll be the first and last uniform he'll be wearing, unless he gets traded towards the end of his career, right? This is huge. This is setting the table for what would be a contract for Kyle Tucker. Now, Kyle Tucker is a little older. I know Guerrero's like 26. Kyle Tucker is 29, I believe, 28, 29. So what do you think this does for the Cubs office? The general manager's office, or the Cubs ownership. What does this do to them, JC?
Well, the better question is, not to kind of change subjects, but we had the information come out last week of how much the Cubs are spending on income versus salary payroll, and we came out, I think it was like 26th. Like there were only like the Marlins and like two other teams that were spending less of their income on the payroll than any other team. And you know what, for the comments of the Ricketts, in the offseason of, oh, we're barely breaking even, stop it. All right. Here's the proof in the pudding that you are the cheapest club in all of MLB. You know what? We are sitting here talking about, what is the product you're putting on the field? And I understand, like, yes, the Cubs have one of the highest salaries, in all of MLB at 200 something million in payroll. But in the grand scheme of things, with the money you're bringing in versus the money you're putting out, you're at the bottom, and it's embarrassing. So therefore, like, let's start with that. And then you sit there and go, are we going to pay Kyle Tucker? Not based on what I'm seeing. Because again, how are you going to sit there and say, like, you think the Ricketts are going to put out a $500 million contract? I don't see it.
I don't see a $500 million contract. I do see, because, he is older. He should be 30, I think, this year. So you're looking at 7 years.
I was going to say 7-8 year. I'd be fine with that, but
you probably extend it to 8 or 9 because you want the AAV to be smaller, so that way you can maneuver the cap. But you're looking at $40 million a year.
I mean, look, the way he's playing, he's playing himself into that kind of contract.
It's the second week of the game. I'm second week of the baseball season, and I know we get excited. So, but he does have 11 hits, 11 runs, 11 walks, and 11 ribbies in the first 11 games of the season.
And he had a diving catch, which was spectacular.
Yeah, first time since Roger I can never say his last name. Hornsby. Roger Hornsby since 1929. So 11 games with 11 hits, 11 runs, 11 walks, and 11 RBIs. And obviously the first Cubs player. But I mean, he is playing himself into a contract. And that's what I keep telling, and I've been telling our fans and you and everybody else that I can, that will listen. I really think that these contracts should all be incentive based. If they make $500,000, $500 million, whatever, throughout their contract or their career, great, not a problem. I have no issue with that. But it's the guys like the Anthony Rodon, who hasn't played 62 games in the duration of the contract, but got $300 million, $400 million, whatever. Those are the contracts that really bug me, and I don't want that for a Chicago team. We've seen that with the Bulls with Lonzo Ball, and they gave him more money, and he went back onto the the IR, or injured reserve. Those are the things that bother me as a fan. Doesn't matter what sport it is. You can't be paying these guys monumental generational money and then they don't play. And I can see how organizations like the Cubs or the White Sox or even the smaller markets do not want to pay because of that reason.
Well, that's also the problem with specific sports leagues as well, is that, when you have fully guaranteed contracts, the NFL doesn't do that. The NFL, it's, hey, we're going to guarantee X amount, like, hey, we're offering you 50 million, but only 15 of that is guaranteed. Now you can earn up to 50 million, but in the long run, I could only pay you 15 and call it a day. So I think that's a problem with, some of these sports leagues, like basketball and all this, where it's a fully guaranteed contract. And if these guys don't go out and earn it, not to bring up a different sports team, right now, but like, look at Patrick Williams on the Bulls. We're paying him $90 million to do what? So, it's one of those where, and at the same time, it's on the team for writing bad contracts and offering bad contracts to these players. Like, Pat Williams has been on the Bulls for how long? And you're telling me you didn't know that this guy wasn't worth $90 million? He's been on the team for 4 or 5 years. I can look at a guy after 2 years and be like, look, he's not progressing. He's not getting better. You know what I mean? Especially when I'm with him every single day, to where, like, hey, you know what, dude, we're going to let you walk in free agency because the money you're asking for, you're not worth it. So, the one thing I will say, we traded for Tucker. We gave away prospects. We gave away a lot of stuff to get him. I hope we re-sign him. But like I said, the way he's playing and the way the Cubs like to spend money, I don't know that it's going to pair up, because, I mean, unless the Ricketts are really willing to crack open their wallet book, which I don't think they are, because, again, we're the third lowest team for payroll versus, income. I don't see it. And that kind of ticks me off, because when you have a guy that is worth it, and again, like you said, we are only 2 weeks in. We're all excited about what he's doing. It's a long road, and we're just getting started. So, but again, the way he's playing right now, I think he could be playing himself out of a contract with us as the Cubs. Boston, Yankees, Dodgers.
Yep.
Somebody will pay him, and they'll defer that contract. Trust me, and
Texas,
they'll be happy to do it.
Texas would be another place that they spend money. Yeah, he avoided arbitration. He agreed at $16.5 million, so he's already gonna outplay that. And you're right. I don't think that he has all the cards in his hands, right? He has the ace, the king, the queen. He's got pretty much a straight going right now if he continues to play and stays healthy all the way through the All-Star game. Now, listening to the radio this morning, they were talking about that he doesn't want to sign right now. He wants to wait around till maybe before the trade deadline, All-Star break. Also that his wife wants to experience Chicago. And if that's the case, I mean, maybe he signs for a little bit less to stay here instead of going to another big team. But this is the best city in the summer. So if the wife could enjoy the summer while he's playing baseball, that could be a plus. That could be a plus. I mean,
there's not a whole lot going on right now. I was just watching videos of State Street. All the shopping places are shutting down, and there's empty storefronts everywhere. It's not a good look. But
everyone shops online anyways. Everyone shops online. Who cares?
No, man. There are females that they want to go to that Prada store. They want to go to Michael Kors. They want to go to those fancy places and feel pampered and, pick out their bags.
I don't know if she's that type of woman, and who cares if
I'm
she
not,
is, right?
listen,
That's none of our business.
I'm not
I'm
trying to
saying,
say that. Let's
no, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying
right.
if her
Yeah.
lane is, I want to experience Chicago
Oh,
during the
absolutely.
summer, it is
Yeah.
the best city to have a lot of things to do. There's festivals. There's 3, 4, 5 festivals every weekend during the summer. You can go on the lake. You can take the river, the architecture. Obviously, the food is
Windy
amazing.
City Smokeout. You got the Pickle Festival. You got the Barbecue Rib Fest. You got what is it? Taste of Poland, and you got River North Fest, and there's so many festivals. Yeah, it's every weekend. It's nonstop. The food here in Chicago. My God, the restaurants that are top notch. There's plenty of stuff to do in Chicago, but you know, if you have someone, I don't know where Tucker's wife is from, but if their heart's in California, some people don't like to deal with the Chicago winter, if you know what I mean. So,
They'll have enough money that they can go wherever they want. That shouldn't be an issue.
yeah, but you still got to be here in, March, April, May.
No,
Those early spring games. It was snowing today. Come on, there was a few snowflakes today. We're past this.
Yeah, definitely. We're used to it where we get 4 seasons in one day, so it doesn't bother us. But for transplants, it's a shock and awe. Definitely for these people that what it snowed. What, it was just 60 degrees. Yeah. Well, welcome to Chicago. Yeah. The Cubs are currently in first place. Right now they are 7-5, so they've turned it around in the last week. Lots of good home cooking. They should have swept the Padres. They blew that game in the 9th inning on an error, let a run score. So again, lots of good baseball, especially.
Don't blame it just on the error. That was a bullpen issue as well. I watched the end of the game. You allow guys on base. You're throwing balls. It wasn't just the error. There was plenty of issue with the pitching.
Well,
yeah.
I was, when the guys went out to Ivan and Steven went out to a home opener, and showed us out there, and I'm like, 7th inning, 80 pitches, 8th inning, he's at 90 something pitches. I'm like, why is your starter, your ace, first game in Wrigley, second outing of the year, why is he out there in the 8th inning? Because you don't trust your bullpen. You don't trust your bullpen, and that's going to over leverage your starters, especially your ace, so early in the season. And that's what ended up happening during this season. You could not trust this bullpen to hold this team down. And again, they came in undefeated to play the Cubs. The Cubs took the first 2 very, very handily. But that's not something that's going to be sustainable if they're going to have this type of output. They did win 3-1 the first game, 7-1 the second game, and then lost 8-7 in that third and final game. Currently, they're up 2-0 on the Rangers, which is another tough team. Let's see what the Rangers are right now. They're 8-2. So definitely like we talked about last week, it is a tough schedule for the Chicago Cubs in the month of April. And if they can take 2 out of 3 or even split going down the rest of the month, I think that's a win.
Yeah, right now, offensively, the Cubs are doing pretty well. Like I said, it's just our pitching. It's that, our starters can go 6-7 innings and give up, 1-2 runs, but then you get to the relief, and then all of a sudden they're giving up 5 runs. They're giving up, 2 runs, and you can't have that. You got to have some guys that can, when called upon, can close the game, shut the door, slam it shut. And we don't have that. We had it with Chapman during the World Series run. And then I forget the gentleman we had the year after Chapman, because we lost Chapman back to the Yankees. I know it was was it Kluber?
Kimbrel. Yeah.
I was gonna say I know it was K something.
Yeah, we
but
had
you know, but it's one of those where, for whatever reason, like I don't ever remember the Cubs. You know, I've been a Cubs fan since I was like 2 years old, ever really having that ace closer. You know, we've always had, you know, the Pryors, the Woods, that stuff. But when it comes to having like a Chapman or, you know, someone to come in the ninth and slam that door shut, never really, at least not that I can remember from like the Sammy Sosa era on.
Did
You know, that we
Sutcliffe?
really had.
I'm thinking Sutcliffe. Was Sutcliffe a closer for you guys?
I honestly don't remember. I mean, it's possible.
I'm pulling them up right now. I mean, no, he pitched regularly, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff up there. Game logs. You know, I'm trying to think, man. Rod Beck. That was that Sammy era. Rod Beck. Yeah, but yeah, you can't really think of a closer that,
Yeah.
like you said, shuts it down.
That's what I'm saying. Like you know the Chapmans, you know, like some of those guys. But like I said, the Cubs, like we've never really, you know, those short stints. Like I said, we had Chapman for the World Series. You know, we had Kimbrel for 1 year or 2 years after Chapman. But again, you know, and I don't remember Kimbrel being that great for us. I mean, he was serviceable, he did well, but you know, I think, you know, as we know, the Cubs kind of struggled after the World Series anyway. You know, with repeating the same performance as the World Series. And then, you know, we ended up breaking up the team and everything else. So, you know, as we talked about last week, you know, I stated that, you know, it seems that the Cubs, when it comes to the MLB draft, love to draft outfielders and hitters, and they really don't focus on pitching. And to me, like that's one thing like I would love to see them start focusing on, is getting some pitching.
Yeah, that's definitely something we definitely discussed. And two people that came to mind for closers is Smith, which would be Lee Smith. Pretty cool dude. Got his autograph. And Kurt Sutter. Those are the two. Oh, Bruce Sutter. I'm sorry. Bruce Sutter would be the two closers that had long stays and did well for the Chicago Cubs. So those are, we're talking 80s. So
Yeah,
it's been a while.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like I was born in '86, and it's like since I was born, like you know, it's one of those where like I don't really, like I said, you remember the Pryors, you remember the Woods, you remember, you know, Arrieta and some of these guys that had special seasons, and you're just sitting there, but it's like I don't remember ever like, oh, this guy's coming in, game's over. Like
right.
guaranteed this is over. And that's something the Cubs have never really had, and like we're missing. You know, like I said, we talked about this last year, like, you know, after the All-Star break, where we're sitting there and it's like, okay, we need 8 games, or we're 8 games back, or we're 7 games back, or you know, whatever. And we just kept saying like we don't have a closer that is good enough to get us there. And you know, it seems like year after year after year after year, that's our issue, is we don't have that guy to fall back on. You know, like I say, because we discussed last year, and I think I brought it up, of like how many games we lost in, you know, from the 8th inning on. Like we gave up the lead and ended up losing. Like if we had 2 closers, you know, for the 8th inning and 9th inning, like it would have been a 10-game differential where like we could have made the playoffs. So it's one of those where, like I said, it's an important aspect of baseball, and it's like the Cubs just every year just ignore it. You know, it's like the Bears. how important is it for an offensive line? But yet every year we ignore it.
Well, not this year, hopefully.
Yeah,
Uh,
baby.
yeah, this year should be different, right? That's the idea. All right, so I mean, the Cubs do have a tough schedule. Let's wrap that up. Let their segment. So they're gonna play the Rangers twice. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then they will go to the Dodgers for 3 more games, then play the Padres for 3, and then they'll host the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, and the Phillies. And then the Pirates to end out the month of April. Again, this is a murder's row when it comes to that. I mean, thank goodness they're not playing the Yankees and Atlanta and again, San Diego's not and the Dodgers are nothing to sneeze at. Neither does Philly. But if they were playing the AL East, I think they would have a lot of issues, especially on the pitching side. So let's hope for the best. And we'll come back next week and break that down. But go Cubs, go! Hopefully everyone stays healthy and they talk to Kyle Tucker and start talking about numbers. But switching over to the other side of the city, the Chicago White Sox have gone back into their hole, the losing hole. It's bad on the south side. I usually put the games on. I have 2 TVs, and I'll put the Bulls and the Sox, or because I can't watch the Cubs, or I'll put some kind of sport and the White Sox. They're usually on a second TV with the sound off because I am not a fan of the announcer, and it just kills Steve Stone. I'm so sorry for Steve Stone. They lost. They got swept by the Tigers, and even the last game where they were winning in the 9th, they get walked off. Horrible pitching as far as for the bullpen. The first 2 games were horrible by the starting pitching, losing 4-7, then 2-7, and then blowing that on Sunday 3-4. Just reverting back to showing that they don't have enough talent on the field. There's not enough talent at first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth in the lineup. Lou Bob's batting like 1-something after batting over 300 in spring training. And that's why I told people do not get excited about spring training because it's nice and warm there. It's comfort. When you start playing in 27, 28-degree weather, when the wind is blowing 15, 20 miles an hour in Chicago, it is not fun to play outfield. You're just standing there. It is bad. Again, the White Sox are 2-7, getting demolished by the Tigers, who beat the Yankees today. So the Tigers are starting to get on a roll. So that's not good. I didn't see that. I mean, I think they were a good team, but I never thought that they were going to continue to start getting on a roll. My team out of the Central was the Twins or the Guardians, not the Tigers, but they have a good coach. They know he knows what he's doing, and AJ Hinch. So even with Bias, who actually made a good play and tagged out Robert for stealing second. I don't know if you saw that, JC.
I don't really watch the White Sox, but
No, but did you see the clip?
No, I didn't. But I did see a funny thing of they where they were making fun of Baez that they must have gave him a torpedo bat because he's actually hitting again.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts.
He needs that dollar store big old plastic bat that's all barrel. That's what he needs.
Nah, to me, he needs a 10-foot long, bat because all people do is throw him outside and low, and he can't lay off of it.
Maybe it's his vision. Maybe he needs to go get LASIK or something. Like, go check the kid's vision. I don't know, do something. You got to figure out something because he went from being really good to just really bad.
He can't lay off sliders. He loves sliders, and the bottom line is, it doesn't matter how low and outside it is, or even when the ball's released from the pitcher's hand, you could tell like, okay, this is going to be a ball, and he can't lay off of them. I don't know what it is. Like whether either he's predetermined, I'm swinging at this pitch no matter what.
Yep.
Or like something, because
it might be mental. Maybe he doesn't. Yeah. He's not doing the homework with the scouting report. How pitchers are pitching him. Like right-handers versus left-handers, situational stuff. Maybe he's not doing that part of the game, and that's a huge part to look at all the analytics that they have on you. They are going to throw low and away. It's
not even that. It's low and away, way out
in the other
catcher
batter's
is
box.
Right, the catcher is lining up in the other batter's box.
Yeah,
and it's like he can't lay off of it. And you know what? I don't know what it is. You know, if he could learn to lay off, the guy would get walked 4 times a game, and he would look like a stud for getting walked 4 times a game.
Yeah,
But for whatever reason, he leaves the Cubs, and it's a mental case. I don't know.
yeah. Lou Bob needs to get on track, because if the White Sox have any chance of trading him, which they should have traded him during the offseason, but I guess they didn't get the package they wanted. Lou Bob is not going to get warm and lathered up until July, until the literally when it starts, when trading season is among us, and at that point, how much value will he have, and by that time, will other teams have moved on? So you might be stuck with him again another year, where you're not. He's got talent. And also, he's not being, there's no protection for him. So pitchers are going to at him and throw him their best stuff, because they know, like, okay, if you get a home run, great. No one else is scoring. No one else has got a big bat in this lineup. So we're not scared of you or anybody else. So if you get a solo home run, great. No big deal. We can outscore you. Your pitching sucks. It's just, it's a bad team. And I know there's a bunch of guys that are tryhards or reclamation projects right now, until that AAA team of studs, in my opinion, because they've been raking and pitching very well. Because I've been watching the AAA team now, has been doing really well, until those guys come up and can prove themselves. Because I've said it for both teams, prospects are suspects until they can continuously prove for multiple years. It's going to be a long, rough road for the White Sox and their fans. The only bright side I can see here is that you might get to see these guys a little earlier than you thought. Maybe they start bringing kids up in May and in June to bring some excitement, because the only excitement going on the South Side is the food, the tailgating, and the giveaways.
And the desk pops.
Not allowed to talk about those desk pops anymore. The White Sox will be started a series against the Guardians tomorrow at 3:10. They'll play them for 3. Then they host the Red Sox. Maybe I'll go into those games. I don't know if Steven's available or you're available. We'll see. And then they host the Athletics of No City. And then they go over to Fenway. And then they go to the Twins. And then they go under to the Athletics. And they end the month hosting the Brewers. So you'll be cheering for the White Sox at the end of the month against the Brewers to help out the Cubbies. Don't hold your breath on that.
What are the Brewers doing right now? Honestly, I don't even know what the Brewers are doing right now. If they're doing
Brewers right now, they are
I know they
second
lost a
place.
bunch of guys in the offseason, but
They're 5-5. They're 5-5. So
okay. So I mean, they're hanging in there.
I mean, they're one game behind the Cubs right now because of the losses. So again, it's super early. I know we're talking a lot of crap, but it's super early, and we're just excited about baseball. And when we think of baseball, we think of warm weather, and this being the best city in the world during the summer, our lovely Chicago. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we're going to talk about our Chicago Bears. Then we'll transition over to the Madhouse on Madison report with the Bulls and the Blackhawks, and maybe a little sturdy pod after that. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hey there, Chicago enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your fandom to the next level? The True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast has got you covered with some serious cool merch that screams Chicago pride. From cozy sweaters to trendy tank tops, we got it all. Show off your love for the city with our iconic red, white, and blue logo, or stand out with our exclusive collection for the love of sports. Whether you're lounging at home, breaking a sweat at the gym, or cheering on your team at a game, our gear is a must-have for all you diehard Chicago sports fans out there. Don't hesitate. Visit bonfire.com/store/606-media-store/, or simply just click the link in the description and snag your gear ASAP. Get ready to make some noise, show your pride, and embrace the Chicago spirit with True Chicago Sports Fan podcast merch. Designed for you, the ultimate fan, for the love of sports. Hey guys, it's Steven.
And this is Sean, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans.
Don't forget to listen to Nowhere on the Weekend. New episodes on Monday. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a couple of shots, so let's kick it back over to Big Z.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with Big Z. In the house, we got JC, Dynasty Fantasy Football. And it is time to talk about our Chicago Bears. This is where JC gets to shine and be a nerd about our Chicago football team. JC, what is going on with the Bears?
Well, they reported today, so that's a good thing. Today's, I believe it's April 7th, the first day of the off season. So everybody reported bunch of photos on Instagram of, all the guys walking in to the facilities and stuff like that. Time to get excited. We're a week or two away from the draft. Rumors are flying. We'll see what happens. A new latest CBS mock draft has us trading up with the Patriots to number 4 to grab Abdul Carter. I would love that. And anyone who disagrees and says otherwise, listen, go sit down. Abdul Carter is an animal. He would be amazing on the Bears. And honestly, the draft compensation that we were going to give up, it was our first, pick 41 and a third round next year. To get Abdul Carter, I would do that all day long, every day.
So we would swap our first round and then give him a third round next year.
No, it would be our first round, our second pick in the second round. So pick 41, and it was a third round next year. Compensation wise, I believe it's our first. So pick 10 and pick 39 is the point equivalent of pick 4, but you want to sweeten the pot. You want to sweeten the deal. You want the Patriots not to draft a quote unquote generational, defensive end. If you want to move up, you got to sweeten it just a little bit. So that's what they're doing by throwing in a future third. To me, I would do it. To me, it's one of those, you can definitely get a defensive end later or at pick 10, but it's not the same talent level or production level that Abdul Carter had in college. Or you have guys that have off-field issues or, question marks with their attitudes and, personal lives. So to me, get Abdul Carter at 4 for pick 41 and 10, have the guy that in college had a ton of stats and production. I'm not against it. You know what? Yes. Am I also at the point where, yeah, I would love to have the 10th pick, the 39th pick, and the 41st, and just absolutely stack our roster and have the depth? Absolutely. I would love that. But to have a guy across from Sweat on a rookie deal and have him produce and be ready to go and be an animal, I mean, it's hard to argue against that as well.
It's hard to argue to get another piece to be on a defensive line across from Sweat to definitely put a lot of pressure. Yes, I love the idea, but don't we need a couple more pieces on the offensive line? Don't we need a little bit more depth on the offensive line? Isn't the offensive line the priority this year so that Caleb Williams, whose clock is ticking as far as his rookie contract, can get us to the promised land with the unbelievable talent that he has, and now that they're putting around him? I really think that right now these assets are precious to the Bears, and I think that if they can be smart with Ben Johnson and address the offensive line so that the kid has 4.5 seconds, 5 seconds to be able to throw the ball, please, by all means, do it. Let's see. Izzy is saying that he wants to trade down to pick 17. Oh, wait a second. That's the wrong comment right there. He said, "Oh, move down to 17." That's far. That's far, Izzy.
Well, 17 is about where you could get a top guard. From what Izzy's saying is he wants to move down to 17 to get Omari and Hampton. Because honestly, like you look at the Chargers, I think the Chargers would be a great spot for Hampton to go, and they're at 21 or somewhere in the 20s. So I can see that happening, but at the same time, to me, I'll take one of the Ohio State kids, Trey Henderson or Judkins in the second. If I'm moving back to get like Michael Williams or Josh Simmons or one of the tackles. Because if Will Campbell and Membu are gone, and then you have like no defensive end there, I'm gonna try and move back. If Genty's there at our pick, I would still try and bait the Cowboys or someone to move up with us for Genty.
Right.
Yeah, I know everyone's crazy about Genty. Everybody wants a Genty on the Bears. To me, it's one of those. I still feel defensive end or a guard. Because I'm still waiting to see, like, are we extending the left guard, Thuney, or are we not? Like, what's going on there? We traded for him, but there's no talk of extension. So if we're not extending him, then I sit there and look at like, well, Will Campbell's a good option to be there long term. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of options. Like I said, if I can trade up and get Abdul Carter, I would love it. If I can't get, one of the top defensive ends and, the Membu and Campbell are gone, really, like there's defensive tackles or stuff like that, but it's still a bit of a reach. Like if I can move back 4 or 5 spots, I would absolutely love to do that instead.
Yeah, get more draft picks, more currency. Defensive tackle Chris Williams, Jonathan Ford, and defensive end Daniel Hardy, and cornerback Amir Speed, and offensive lineman Bill Murray have all signed with the Bears or re-signed. Again, these are depth pieces for us to be able to have bodies. Like, yes, we're going to have good offensive line, good defensive line if we continue to sign and draft people. But right now, you do need guys to get in and out of the rotation. And, Bill Murray's a name that you did see this year. Chris Williams, another name you did see this year. Jonathan Ford, a little bit. Hardy, I don't remember seeing as much, or Amir Speed.
Yeah, I'm looking at a comment here from Israel about the tight end out of Penn State.
Yeah.
Warren. Here's my problem is that would then make, within the past 5 years, twice we've taken a tight end in the first round, Cole Kmet and now Warren. I'm not a fan. There is position. How do I phrase? There is positions of need and value. And in that top 10, tight end is not a position of need or value. Tight ends, you can pick them up later rounds, 3rd round, 4th round. Hardly ever does a first round tight end really pan out that way. Travis Kelce was not a first rounder. A lot of these guys were 3rd round tight ends. George Kittle was not a first rounder. So it's one of those, like, I know Warren is a great blocking tight end. I know he has plenty of production in Penn State, but the fact of the matter is, with a top 10 pick, I'm still looking edge. I'm still looking tackle, because those are the positions of value. Those are the guys you pay $30-40 million long term. Tight ends, they get paid I think Komet's getting paid what 8.75 million this year. To me, I'm taking the discount on an edge rusher every time at 10. If I have that ability.
He's better than Bowers. I don't know about that. That's still unproven. You have to wait till they get to the NFL to be able to compare them. I mean, Bowers had an unbelievable season with a crappy Raiders team. So, I mean, yeah, I think
I love Warren's blocking. I love all of that. But to me, it just doesn't make sense with Komet. Because now if you tell me, hey, Komet's due $8.75 million next year and we're going to cut him because there's no dead cap. So we're going to cut the $9 million and save that $9 million and Warren's going to be the future. All right. I can have that argument made to me. But if you're telling me like, oh, we just want 12 personnel and we want a dual threat with Komet and him out there, name, other than the Patriots, any team that's ever used two tight ends on the field at the same time and had both tight ends be productive. It doesn't happen.
Does San Francisco do that for a little bit?
But you'd have like what, Vernon Davis and somebody else, but it's very not typical. Usually every team has one tight end. You know what I mean? Or like they have a tight end that is a passing, like a pass catcher, and you have one tight end that is a pass blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have like George Kittle where they do both, or, you know what I mean? So it's one of those where when tight ends, because even this week, Trey McBride is now the highest paid tight end. He signed a 4-year, $74 million contract. That's not that much, especially because I think he's only guaranteed 40 something million. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me he's getting paid $10 million a year guaranteed with the upside of, a couple more million in incentives. To me, $15 million to a tight end is not the same as paying an edge rusher 35 to 40 million. The Nick Bosas, the Joey Bosas, those edge rushers that get paid that big money, those are the guys I'm looking for in the top 10. Is those guys that are massive, like disruptors of the quarterback. Because when you get those guys, when you get the TJ Watts, when you get the Montez Sweat, now Montez had a little bit of a down year last year, but when you get those top tier guys, you're talking about a guy that instead of paying a veteran $35 million to come on the team and do that, like we did with Montez Sweat, you're getting this guy for $6 million as a rookie. That's a $29 million savings. That to me is what I'm looking for with that pick 10, is find me someone that affects the quarterback, whether that's, Kenneth Grant, whether that's Mason Graham at the defensive tackle spot, whether that's Michael Williams, whether that's Abdul Carter. Those are the guys I'm looking for. I want to affect the quarterback on the other team and do it at a cost savings.
And that's why JC's on the show, because he nerds out about football. I love it, JC. In other Bears news, Arlington Heights Mayor elect Jim, I can't say his last name, Tenagila. He's trying to close the deal for the Bears to come to Arlington Heights. And it looks like Northwest Indiana is making a play for the Chicago Bears too. Did you hear about this?
I did not, but stop it. Stop it. You have the Indianapolis Colts. We're good. You know what? It's either the lakefront or it's Arlington Heights. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the Bears, the amount of money they spent in Arlington Heights,
over $200 million so far with
it's either
it's going to be Arlington Heights. It makes too much sense to own your own stadium, to put in your own Bears Plaza, and to have live concerts and NCAA Final Four, to have a WrestleMania, to have a Super Bowl. It makes so much sense to have all that revenue just be yours instead of renting a stadium and getting no revenue the rest of the year. It just makes no sense to stay on the lakefront. It makes no sense to go to
Well, I guarantee you the Bears would be working a contract where, like, listen, no, we're putting up the capital. We're not asking for taxpayer money. We're not,
right.
Because that's the quote unquote understanding right now
with the city.
And I'm sure the Bears will be going to other NFL owners and they'll be getting a loan from them. The NFL owners union, etc. They constantly do that where they help each other build stadiums. Keep the Bears in Chicago.
Yeah. He's being sarcastic. Come on, it's the worst parking situation, the worst walk, the 1.5 mile walk to get into Soldier Field. It's a beautiful location. That is it.
And that's the thing is, you sit there and look at it and it's like you would love for the development that they had in mind for the community. However, the Friends of the Park and all these other organizations that get involved with the city and everything else, if I were the mayor and the governor, I would sit there and tell the Friends of the Park, shut the hell up. All right. You cost us the Lucas Museum.
Yep.
All right. Now you're going to cost us the Chicago Bears. Shut the hell up.
Well, they're going to
because not only that, right? If they go to Arlington Heights, well, granted, the city can still, I guess, go to the taxpayers and put a roof over Soldier and make it still a semi-indoor, facility. And I don't know, maybe you bring the Chicago Fire back to.
Please don't. That's the reason I don't go to Chicago Fire games. When they were in Bridgeview, even though it's more of a hike, having parking, having the ability to tailgate for 3 hours beforehand, an hour after the game, be able to tailgate. It's a 90-minute match. It was close to the highway. Yes, it was a little bit of a hike, but I was able to do all those cool things. And the stadium was built for soccer. So there was no bad seat. Even if you were upstairs, you had an angled, perfect view of the entire pitch. No. Simple as that. Now, if the Bears go to Arlington and they say, hey, Chicago Fire, do you want to build a little stadium over here next to us? Hey, I'm all for it.
Well, that's why they're talking about doing that with the White Sox.
No, I don't.
And my whole thing was the first thing I said was it better be 2 stadiums.
Yes,
because I hate NFL stadiums that have an infield in the middle of a freaking football field.
Who has that? Nobody has that.
I think Miami still does.
No,
I think Miami is like one of the only teams that still does.
Miami plays in the Hard Rock Casino or whatever it's called now. That stadium, and Miami Marlins have their own ballpark. The last one was where the Athletics.
3 or 4 years ago, there was still a football team playing
the Athletics. Yeah, when the Raiders were in Oakland, that was the last.
It might have been Oakland, but I mean, I forget what it might have been an Oakland versus Miami game, and that's why I'm thinking it's Miami. But like I said, I remember watching it, and I'm just like, there's no traction, there's no whatever. Like the guys were slipping on the field, and then I hate it. So it's one of those, like when someone brought up like a dual use stadium, I was like, absolutely not. No, like don't want it. Not interested. No thanks.
You gotta go look at what the European soccer teams are doing, where they have the grass, like it'll drop down underneath, and then they have it where they have like special lighting to keep
LED lights.
Growing. So that way the grass stays fresh, it gets watered, it gets all the light, and then you can, you bring up whatever other surface that you're going to be using. for concerts or monster rallies or whatever you're doing. That's what you need to be doing. You need to go top of the line of the most technological possibilities that you can at this moment.
They don't do that here. Like, I mean, soccer fields in Europe do that stuff, and they spend a ton of money. I think Arizona is like the only place that does it, where the field rolls out of the stadium and they get it sun and for like an hour or two, and then they roll it back in, because obviously you can't have grass and 120-degree heat all day. But I mean, trust me, I would love that for the Bears, but at the same time, just give me turf. All right. We've been having this argument for so many freaking years about the sod at Soldier Stadium and the mud pit that it is,
because it's owned by the Park District. That's why. It's not owned by the NFL team or the NFL. It's
then
owned
it's like,
by
okay, after week 5, we're replacing the sod, and then we're hoping the roots settle by the time that they play again week 7.
And by that time,
like,
it's winter. It's winter by that time.
Like, what are we doing? Just freaking put turf in already and be done with it. Like with the turf, you can put like heating elements under it and melt the snow. We don't have to deal with it. There's so many things that can be done with a new stadium that I'm excited for the Bears. They, as a franchise that's been around for as long as we've been around, it's about time we get a facility that is state of the art. And my gripe is that, that the Arlington Heights stadium that they're planning on building, it's the same capacity. Like, if you're going to build a new stadium, why are you going with the same exact capacity of 80,000 people? Especially when you have better routes.
Who's getting the same capacity? I think Soldier Field only fits 60.
No.
Yeah.
Let's look it up.
Yeah. Soldier Field. Chicago.
Because that was
capacity.
Because that was the talk, is like that basically that the capacity is not going to be that much bigger. That they were discussing.
Come on, Chicago Bears game capacity, or was it Soldier Field?
Soldier Field capacity.
Crap.
Soldier Field stadium capacity 61,500.
There you go. Yeah, because once they put the spaceship on there, they lost seating.
Okay, let's see. Bears, Arlington.
As you said, we don't need more people at Soldier Field. That's probably the only place where all Chicago fans want to be at, is at Soldier Field, especially September, October, even November. I think once you get to December and January, no one wants to be there. Only the diehards can show up for those games. I am not going to those cold games.
Here you go. So I just looked it up. The proposed Chicago Bears Stadium in Arlington Heights is expected to have a capacity of 65,000.
Oh, that's just dumb. That is just
so
dumb.
You're only going to put in 4,000 more seats? What?
That is just dumb.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it does. Like, why? What's
the number
the point?
The number should start at 80.
Like, give me 75.
Okay, we'll compromise. We'll compromise.
You know what I mean? Like we can meet in the middle. Like,
right.
give me like 75,000. Because to me, like, all right, now you have the CTA. Now you have 294. You got all these other entrances and exits out of Arlington Heights. You can go west, you can go north, you can go south, you can go east. On the lakefront, you had north and south. You couldn't go west because you had Lakeshore Drive. Like, you either went north or south to go west, because you can't go east.
Yeah.
But like I said, with Arlington, you have the CTA, you have multiple highways.
You have the metro.
other routes to the stadium, and you're only going to expand capacity by 4,000 people. That is negligible.
That's just dumb. That is just dumb, especially if you're going to hold a Final Four or a WrestleMania. All right, let's say you can fit 15,000 on the floor more, so you're at 80. You know, that's still not enough. That's still not enough.
To me, it's not even that. It's like, are you afraid we're not going to sell out? Like,
you can start selling what is it? What is that called? Licensing tickets or licensing seats right now, and I guarantee you those will sell out.
Here's my thing, and this is what I hated about the Bears Soldier Field, is that they had the luxury boxes, and they took up way too much damn space. Too much damn space.
I've been in there.
The whole other, like the one side of the field is all luxury boxes.
Yep.
And I get it. You want to do corporate events. You want to do all this. Give me 15,000 more seats for an average fan that's going to drink beer, eat concessions. And it's not going to be some suite where it's all included, et cetera, et cetera. Don't get me wrong. Like you can still have the luxury boxes, but the way you design it is like the United Center, where the luxury boxes are underneath. So you have your seating here on an angle going upward, but your luxury boxes are right underneath. So you're not taking up an entire side of a stadium with glassed in luxury boxes. Oh, wait, they don't even have to be glassed in because it's going to be a dome now.
Right.
I just, like I said, when I brought it up of like, they're really not expanding capacity, I was like, I don't understand why. And that's when you're like, no, they're doing 80,000. I'm like, they're not. Like, I knew the number was pretty darn close to what Soldier Field was.
That's idiotic. If
Soldier 61.5 and they're talking about 65, like most average stadiums now are 70 to 80. I mean, colleges are 100.
Right.
Like and don't get me wrong. Like I understand, like probably the village of Arlington Heights doesn't want 100,000 people a weekend, coming into that small space and area.
Oh, when they get all the tax money, I bet you they're not going to care.
But I mean, as a team, would you not want 80,000 people spending money on concessions and everything else? Like I said, like great having luxury boxes. Like you can do it like the United Center. United Center has plenty of luxury boxes. But you're telling me that the luxury boxes are more important than fitting another 10,000 seats in there? It just doesn't make sense financially as a business model. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a stadium, and I get like, okay, like we're going to have a sports book, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. Like I understand all that. And that's why the one rendering of like the lakefront where like the one end zone is all glass.
Stupid.
Put in 10,000 seats there and call it a day. Like I'm trying to like if I'm an owner, I'm trying to maximize revenue. I don't give a shit about a glass wall.
No, and all the dead birds they'll be smashing into it.
What is this? They need a place where we can bring our cats.
No, Izzy, you and your cats can stay home, man. It's a bear city. Bears, no cats. No cats. All right, JC, let's take another quick break, and then we'll finish off the show with our Bulls, our Madison Madhouse report, our Bulls and Blackhawks, and we'll get out of here because we do want to watch the NCAA basketball championship. You got the Cubs playing. Definitely a lot of stuff on TV right now as far as sports. So let's take another quick break, and then on the flip side, we'll finish off with our Madison on Madhouse report.
Hey there, Chicago enthusiasts. Are you ready to take your fandom to the next level? The True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast has got you covered with some serious cool merch that screams Chicago pride. From cozy sweaters to trendy tank tops, we got it all. Show off your love for the city with our iconic red, white, and blue logo, or stand out with our exclusive collection for the love of sports. Whether you're lounging at home, breaking a sweat at the gym, or cheering on your team at a game, our gear is a must-have for all you diehard Chicago sports fans out there. Don't hesitate. Visit bonfire.com/store/606-media-store/, or simply just click the link in the description and snag your gear ASAP. Get ready to make some noise, show your pride, and embrace the Chicago spirit with True Chicago Sports Fan podcast merch. Designed for you, the ultimate fan, for the love of sports.
What up? It's Martin Moreno, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans podcast.
Welcome back to the TCSS podcast with Big Z. In the house, we got JC. And we're going to finish off our show with our Madhouse on Madison report. The Chicago Bulls made some news with Billy Donovan being elected into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. If you look at his numbers, he's got 467 career wins at Florida, making him the winningest coach in Gators history. 2 NCAA championships of 06 and 07. If you know who's on that team, you know who know. It's Joakim Noah. There's only 2 titles that Florida has ever had. 14 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances in his tenure. 6 SEC regular season championships, 4 SEC tournament titles, 434, 361 record with 10 NBA seasons with 6 playoff appearances. At this point, he's had the equal amount of NBA season between Oklahoma and Chicago. Congrats to Billy Donovan, one of the all-time best college coaches. But I just feel like when it comes to the NBA coaching, I feel it's like mid. It's in the middle. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, I mean, first off, I don't necessarily blame him for the talent that's put on the team. We've had this discussion that, we were all super excited when AK got the job.
Yeah,
but
I thought he was going to do something.
It's one of those where then you hear about, we were offered a first for Lonzo and we didn't take it. Now he's out hurt. Like, you didn't take a first for Lonzo?
I'll take a first in 2042. Right. I don't care what year it is. I'm taking a first for Lonzo.
And then we end up extending Lonzo, and now his contract is to the point that nobody will want him, like Pat Williams, like I said earlier in this discussion. It's one of those where the Bulls make questionable decisions, and I hope to God that one day they stop making questionable decisions and finally put a team together that can, make it in the playoffs to a respectable level like the Jordan Bulls. But I mean, as of right now, hey, look, Billy Donovan, great for you, college coach, everything like that. But, I don't necessarily put the blame on him for how our Bulls are now. I think the Bulls have unfortunately been playing themselves out of a top 10 pick and potentially into the play-in, tournament. And where they'll probably get bounced in, the very first round.
We shall see. I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10 is a playoff tournament right now. They sit 1 game above the Heat for during the 9th spot. They're 1 game behind the 8th spot, 2 games out of the 7th spot. Again, they are 7-3 in their last 10. They got the brakes blown off when they were playing. Who did they play? And they got obviously the Thunder, right? Number 1 team in the NBA. Of course, the Thunder came out, guns and blazing, and showed them who's an actual NBA team. Then they played the Lonely Raptors and won that game handsomely. And the same thing with the Trailblazers. Those are 2 games where they're playing lesser talent. And the same thing with the Hornets. They were up like 30 something against the Hornets, and then it became 131-117. But they are playing their last 4 games against teams that they can and should beat. The Cavaliers game, I don't know. Donovan Mitchell, the Spider, is not playing tomorrow. So I don't know how much of an impact that will make for the Bulls. But the Bulls are looking to win the next 4 games and put them in contention to, let's see, if they win 4 games, they'll be 40-42. So they have a chance to make the 7th seed. So you're still in the play-in tournament. So they've already secured a spot in the play-in tournament, but it's just the seeding part that is going to be the issue for them, right? So I think 7 plays 8 and 9 plays 10. So they would be playing the Heat, which would be kind of dangerous.
Well, let's just say this: if I'm out there, if I'm a worker at the Bulls facility,
Yeah.
I think I'm tripping Kobe White in the hallway. Or Josh Giddey or somebody. Like I don't want to hurt them terribly, but if they can miss the next 4 games,
Kobe White's been on
top
fire.
10 pick.
Kobe's been on
Give me the
fire.
pick. Sit out. Look, I'm coming to you, Kobe. You're hurt. You pulled your hamstring. Wink. Go have a seat.
I've been saying that for the whole month, and guess what? He's been balling out. We chastised Vooch, and then he has a great game.
This is what the Bulls do. They play like crap all season till the end of the season. Then all of a sudden they look amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's wash, rinse, and repeat. And then we don't get a good draft pick. Then we go into the next season where we have no hope. Then they give us a little bit of hope. And then our hopes are crushed. Wash, rinse, repeat. We need to lose to get some talent.
Yeah. You're not getting Cooper Flag. And he might even stay with Duke next year. He might look at his like, do I want to play in Brooklyn? Do I want to play in Charlotte? Do I want to play who's in last place? The Wizards, the Hornets, the 76ers. The 76ers are a hot mess. And then you're looking at the Jazz. I don't know how they're so bad. The Jazz are 16-63. Wow, I did not know that. The Wizards are 17-61, and the Hornets are 19-59. Wow, complete trash. So again, the Bulls have 4 games. The Wizards being one of them, the Sixers being the other one. So those 2 teams that they should really blow them out. The Heat game should be close, and the Cavaliers game tomorrow will be the game. Should be an exciting game, right? If the Bulls can show up. You never know what team is going to show up, but you're looking at a potential of 4 more games on the winning column to get them to the 7th seed. Again, it's the play-in, and then they got to play a real team after that. Whether it be Boston or the Cavaliers, that'll be a quick exit.
Yeah, while you were talking, I was looking up because I was just sitting there like what pick did we take Booz Ellis at last year? Because honestly, like you sit there and think about it, like the NBA, there's maybe usually 5, 6 top tier talent guys, and then like the rest of the guys are like we say like suspects.
11. Yeah, 11 from the G League. So anybody could have picked them up last year.
Yeah, but it's like I said. I mean, first off, he's an amazing player and playing amazingly well. But it's one of those where you're sitting there going, okay, if we make the freaking playoffs and the play-in again, we're picking at what pick, and then what talent are we looking at? I mean, it's always one of those where it's like, I'd rather miss the playoffs. Like I said, like I'm tripping somebody in the hallway. Like somebody's got to take a hit for the team and sit out because we cannot win these last 4 games.
Well, it just made no sense. It's like they started sitting down Vooch, giving the young guys a little bit more rest, more time to play while Vooch got some rest, and then Kobe just started balling out, and then Buzella's got a couple games here and there, and then Giddey had almost with some triple doubles and stuff like that. Izzy, thanks for jumping on, man. We'll talk to you next week. So it just Kobe was like, I am not losing. I am going to play out of my mind, and he's got player of the week twice, back to back, and then probably player of the month. Hey, man, the Bulls are, like we said, wash, rinse, repeat. I think I named one of our shows that. So it is very much so the same thing over and over. Gives your fans a little bit of hope to draw them back in next year. We'll draft in the middle, not pay a big salary, not sign any big free agents. We'll overpay somebody who doesn't deserve it. It is wash, rinse, repeat.
Well, remind me, is Vooch up this season? He's a free agent this season, or
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, he's done with us.
Yeah. So okay, now we have no center on the team that I know of, unless like you're moving Buzelis there, which doesn't really make sense. Or are you moving Pat Williams there? Like neither of those guys
No.
really should be playing that position.
No.
So are we filling in with like an Andre Drummond type again, or
No, you have Jalen Smith. He's been playing pretty good for a big guy. Has a big motor on him. Can actually rebound. Has a big body. But is he ready to do the 82 games a season? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah.
Well, like I said, my biggest issue is just, you know, we found a heck of a talent in Buzelis at 11, but not very often do you find those guys that late in an NBA draft. You know, it's like we said, he's usually the first 3 to 5 picks, you know, of quote unquote talented guys, and then everybody else after that is kind of like a suspect. You know, they could pan out, they could not. You know, we don't know. So I just get to the point where it's like I wish the Bulls would just stop winning.
Yeah. They also have was it Hooter, whatever his name is. They have a couple players that we got in those trades. I'm trying to see, let's see, 24, 25, 25, 26. All right, so we lose Trey Jones. Josh Giddey's a free agent. Taylor Horton Tucker, another free agent. Emmanuel Miller, EJ Liddell, and Jameer Young. Who cares? Yeah, Javon Carter probably get cut. I mean, you're going to have Lonzo Ball. Oh, we do have Vooch for one more year. Sorry about that. We have for one more year at $21 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, because we kept talking about we want to trade him, so I thought this was the last year.
Yeah, I thought it was too. So 25, 26. So next year is his last year. Again,
right, cool. We
they're
don't have to
running
worry
it back.
about that then.
Yeah, they're running. No, well, I mean, they have Zach Collins for one more year at $18 million. We got him from Sacramento. So you have Kevin Hooter, 3-point shooting forward. We got Zach Collins, Patrick Williams, who's going to get lost in the shuffle with the new guys. Vooch, Lonzo Ball, Kobe White, who will get an extension. He's going to make $12 million, almost $13 million. He's outplayed that contract again. That's a kid you keep. And then how much are you going to be in a Giddey sweepstakes? He's going to demand $25 million a year, 30 a year.
For me, I personally would pay Giddey for sure.
He's 22.
God, I wish we could get rid of Patrick Williams' contract. Man, that Pat Williams contract is a brick in cinder block, you know, bubble bath. You're drowning yourself with that contract.
Well, it didn't help that they extended Ball. That's another one.
But what did we pay Ball? Wasn't it like 3-year? Was it a 2-year or 3-year extension at $20 million?
Yeah, 2-year extension, $20 million, so it's 10 per year.
Which I mean, for an
Not
NBA
much.
team,
Yeah, he's making 21 now. Right, he's making 21 right now.
Yeah.
So,
but to me, like I said, the Pat Williams, Cubs beat Rangers 7-0. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news.
There you go. Go Cubs, go.
Yeah, the Pat Williams, like I said, I mean that's a mob movie, cinder block shoes. You know what I mean? Like you're drowning with that contract. Because I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets his stuff together next year and starts playing better. But to me, Buzelis is already outplaying him. So go have a seat at the end of the bench. We'll call you if we need you.
Well, you drafted a 6-man, and that's what he is, and he will never be anything bigger than a 6-man. You don't rebound well. You can't shoot threes well.
$90 million.
72 after this year, whatever. But it is what it is. Speaking of other teams' disappointment, the Blackhawks, 6 games ago, they did win their last game against the Penguins. Again, they will be playing at the Penguins tomorrow, then the Bruins, then the Jets, Canadians, and Senators. Again, this is while we know where we're at with the Blackhawks, we got 6 games left. They got 54 points, and the Sharks have 50. In my opinion, that all the young guys play. I don't care about winning. Get some young guys some ice time. If you get blown out, you get blown out. Hopefully the Sharks, win a game or two. Either way, you're picking. You should be picking in the top 5. 'Cause I think they do a lottery. So again, the Blackhawks. It's been fun to see these guys grow, but there's been a lot of regression in some areas. We went to a game earlier this year.
I was going to say I saw an article this week by some NHL, talking head that they think Bedard is going to demand a trade in the offseason.
Which I mean, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's what 2 years into a 5-year or 3 years into a 5-year. I don't blame the kid, but hopefully we'll like you said, we'll be in the top 5, hopefully a top 2 pick. And we can get some more talent. I know I was with my guys this weekend, and one of the guys said there's one offensive guy and one defensive guy in the upcoming draft. And I basically said well, we could use some defense. Because right now giving up four goals a game and 3 goals a game, we could use some defense.
Yeah, we
Not
have
only that,
a ton of young centers. We got Doc and Bedard and Reichel. Reich's making 1.2, Bedard's making 950. These are both of them are signed through next year, so they're looking for a contract extension. So maybe that's probably why there might be some chance of a trade, but I just don't see it. These are restricted free agents because they were signed by the Blackhawks. But there is a lot of youth on this team, and that's why they're struggling. They're struggling because they don't have enough talent on there. On the defensive side, you do have some guys, Connor Murphy's making $4 million. Alex Vlasic is making 4.6. Shea Weber is making 7.8. So their money's in the defense, but I don't see how they have any defensive qualities where some of these guys.
And hopefully those are expiring contracts because if you're telling me our money's in defense and we're giving up 4 goals a game.
Well, Alex Vlasic is 23. He's young. Shea Weber's 39, and we got him for 1 more year. Looking at the offensive side, guys who make money, Bertuzzi, he's 29. We have him through the 27-28 season. Teravainen, we got him through 26-27. Nick Foligno, he's 37. Again, you got him for next year. He can go again. These guys that are 37 making this money, it's like you said, it's a brick weighing you down. Unless you're going for it, that you need that extra defenseman that who's going to be an enforcer, then you spend that money. You get your Bufflin. But right now, we need a little bit of everything. Just we need some trenches on offense and on defense. And we traded for a goalie, and we'll see how that works out. Spencer Knight, $4.5 million. Brassault, 3.3, and Soderblom is making 962,000. So, and then they have 2 players. They have buyouts, Bailey and Phillips, 1.6 and 100,000. So, and they're still paying Seth Jones $2.5 million a year for the next 4 years. 5 years, 6 years. Jesus.
Well, like I said, let's hope that the Blackhawks can cut some salary and maybe spend it on some better talent. We've had some high draft picks. Bedard's a good talent. It's just that you can't win many games when you're giving up 4 or 5 goals a game. The game we went to, like I said, the offense just looked haphazard. The outlet passes were horrible. Like the guys they were shooting outlet passes to guys that were non-existent. They got to get it together. They look like a minor league team out there.
I mean, at least the Chicago Wolves will be going to the playoffs. Jesus. We might have to go up there and to the All-State Arena for the Chicago Wolves.
Yeah, but they're not even our minor league team.
Yeah, they're not affiliate. I think they're Carolina's affiliate team.
That's the worst part is like, oh my God, we're super excited for the Wolves. And it's like, oh wait, but they don't feed into the Blackhawks.
No, we have the Rockford Ice Hogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a further drive. I don't go to Rockford. All right, JC, I think it's time for you to go eat your dinner. It's time for me to watch some basketball. And Cubs won, and every other Chicago team is off, so it's nice.
Yep. This is going to be an exciting NCAA game, considering that Duke got knocked out. I was watching that
they
game.
Were my pick to win.
Yeah, one of my coworkers.
28-31.
One of my coworkers was like, "Oh, American flag looks like a stud," and all this, and it's like, and I wrote, "That aged well," because he missed the last shot. And he's like, I jinxed them.
Well,
oh
yeah,
God.
he missed the last shot. Well, they were up like 16 with a minute to go or something, and they just blew it. So, hey, it's college basketball. That's why we watch it. It's March Madness. It's the reason that everyone loves March Madness, because anything can happen. Anybody can beat anybody. And, it's the best time of year.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah, any given Sunday. All right. All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you for our fans for listening, for checking in. Thank you to Israel Cricket Commish for joining the pod. Thank you to our listeners, our watchers, for sticking with us and supporting us through 242 episodes. Thank you to our sponsor, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans. And go over to 606 Media and check out our clothing line and check, wear our gear. If you do get some of our gear, and I told some of the people that bought some gear last week, take a picture with it. I'll make a whole new commercial. We'll feature you in it. Yeah, I gotta go to JC's place and get a couple more. I want a hat in every color, and we'll get those. Hey, JC's gonna put that on a website as well. And if you want to hit up JC for a hat, hit him up on the Twitter. Yeah, definitely tons of stuff coming out in the next couple weeks. Check us out on social media. Check us out at TCSF Pod on Twitter. Serge runs that. I don't know where Serge is at right now, missing in action. Hopefully he's okay. But I know Steven might be working today. That's why he wasn't on the show. Or maybe he's passed out from working Sunday night. Who knows? Check us out on social media. It is True Chicago Sports Fans on Instagram and on Facebook. You can find me at BigZ_606 Media on all of my handles. If you have a topic for stirring the pot, or sports topic, a movie or show we need to watch, hit us up at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. All right, y'all. For JC, I am Big Z. We'll see you next time for episode 243. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.
Swish.